Hello. Today I'm going to show you how I made this team of 5 weak RPG characters take on a dragon boss immensely stronger than all of them combined, and not just defeat the dragon, but find the optimal strategy to beat him in the least amount of time possible. First, let's look at the mechanics of the game I created here. Here, we are looking at the stats for the Paladin class, but both the characters and the dragon share the same stat system. They have health, which is self-explanatory, and mana, which is the resource required to cast abilities. Hit chance is the probability that they will hit their target with their abilities and not miss. Critical strike chance is the probability that their abilities, with all other status effect modifiers, combined will then deal an additional 50% more damage. Block chance is the opposite of critical strike chance, where it is the probability to reduce an incoming ability's damage after all other status effect modifiers have been combined by 50%. Status effects are temporal modifiers that will either boost or hinder certain stats. In this game, these status effects come solely from abilities. Here are the status effects defined in this game. To keep things short, I won't explain all of them, as their names are quite self-descriptive. In RPG games, typically there are 3 roles each character on a team will fall into. There is the tank, who grabs the boss's attention and takes most of the damage. There are the DPS, who deal the majority of the damage. And finally the healer, who, as the name implies, heals the damage inflicted on the rest of the team. In this game, there are 5 classes: the Paladin, the Death Knight, the Hunter, Mage, and Priest. The Paladin performs the role of tank. The Death Knight, Hunter, and Mage act as DPSs, and the Priest is the healer. Here is the code for the Paladin's abilities. As you can see from the comment up top, this defines the abilities' name, damage, range, mana cost, the animation associated with it, and the status effects it applies when casted. The Paladin's abilities are focused on absorbing damage and dealing high amounts of threat. Threat is the system used by the dragon to determine which character it should prioritize attacking. It is directly proportional to damage, so by default it will attack the character that has done the most damage to it. But the threat modifier will increase this perceived damage from the dragon's perspective, meaning it's easier for a character of high threat generation to grab the boss's attention. Up next is the Death Knight's abilities. His abilities revolve around pushing stacks of Icy Touch and Plague Strike onto his target. The Scourge Strike ability deals extra damage based upon how many stacks of Icy Touch and Plague Strike are currently on the target. The Death Strike ability heals the Death Knight based upon how many stacks of Icy Touch and Plague Strike are currently on the target. And finally, Obliterate will consume and remove all stacks of Icy Touch and Plague Strike to deal a large amount of damage. The Death Knight's best strategy is to stack Icy Touch and Plague Strike often, and then figure out which of those past 3 abilities will work best in the given environment. The Hunter has a mixed bag of abilities, some focused on dealing direct damage and others focused on weakening the boss. The Chimera Shot ability will refresh the time on all Serpent Sting attacks to their original time, currently set to 20 seconds. The Mage's abilities are focused on dealing damage, restoring his own mana, and then transferring that mana to the rest of his team. The Priest abilities are focused on healing his team and weakening the boss. Now that we understand all the mechanics behind the game, let's look into how the characters utilize reinforcement learning to learn which abilities to cast given the environment they are in. The characters will input the stats and total status effect modifiers of themselves, their team, and the dragon into a request to what I have called the ML Agent Controller. This controller will process the information it has received and output which ability the character should cast next. This happens until all the characters on the team are dead, or until the dragon is defeated. The type of reinforcement learning we are using is called Q-learning. So what we have to do is we have to tell the ML Agent Controller if the actions it has taken are good or bad. We do this by rewarding it. We give it a small reward anytime it deals damage to the dragon, proportional to how much damage was done. And we give it a large reward for defeating the dragon. We also increase this large reward relative to how fast they were able to kill the dragon. When a character dies, we apply a negative reward. And when the entire team dies, we apply a large negative reward. Now that we've covered the game mechanics and the machine learning methods used, let's actually start the simulation and see what happens. Alright, unscripted here, I'm going to start this up. So, as you'll notice, we have 16 different simulations all running right now. Currently, they are not winning the battles. They are losing almost every single time. We can check this by just checking the dragon's health. They get it about halfway, and they all start dying. So I'm going to check back up on this in about an hour, and we'll see how much progress they made. Hello again. We're about 45 minutes into this training session. I had to restart my last one because I forgot to pass in my configuration file, so a lot of my training settings were set to default settings. So I just restarted that, and we're about 45 minutes into it. As you can see, they're getting this boss really low, and as you just saw, they actually killed the dragon there. So what I wanted to show you was TensorBoard. Right here is our cumulative reward. This is just an average reward we're receiving over time. So as you see here, we started off at about -5, and we are all the way up to almost +4 here. And if we look at our episode length, that is going up more and more over time. And our episodes are every time all the characters die or the dragon dies, and you see them reset, that is an episode. So, going back to TensorBoard, they're surviving against that dragon longer and longer, and they're doing more and more damage, and in some cases, even killing it. So I'm going to give it about another 30-45 minutes, and we'll see what happens after that. Alright, so it has actually been about 3.5 hours of training now. They are consistently beating the boss over and over. There's not many occasions where they actually lose. And if we open up TensorBoard here, we can see that reflected in their reward. And most interesting is the episode length. It's actually started to go down. So they've turned from just trying to survive long enough to beat the boss to now beat the boss in the fastest time possible because they're being rewarded for doing so. So I am curious to see what it'll look like in another couple hours, and when that happens, I'll come back and I'll update you guys on the progress. So it's not even been 30 minutes, and we have seen an insane explosion in performance. Let this reset here, and you can just watch how fast they are burning this boss down. It is insane in comparison to what we were seeing before, and we even have TensorBoard here to confirm our findings. Let me just refresh this. We are seeing this huge spike right here. Has all been in like the past not even 30 minutes, and they are burning the boss down faster than the boss was burning them in the very beginning when they were just casting random abilities. Now they are burning the boss even faster than that. So I'm about to leave my apartment and head out for the night, but when I come back, I am very excited to see what kind of progress it makes. Alright, I'm back. I believe it's been about 4 hours since my last clip, and if we just take a look here, this dragon is not standing the slightest chance. It is getting eliminated almost instantaneously. If I try to time this here, just count 1, 2, 3. I'm counting like 3 seconds, and this is on times 20 speed. So it's going down in about just 1 minute here. This dragon's dying. So let's take a look at TensorBoard. And as you can see, we were, I believe, about right here. Yep, about 3 hours and 50-ish minutes right here. Last clip, and it has soared all the way up here since. And the episode length has gone down, 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 down with this weird spike right here. I'm not sure what's up with that, but it had a little spike there and then climbed back down, and it's leveling out right here at about 39. So let's actually stop the AI once it gets about halfway through, and let's see what kind of status effects are on the dragon so we can see what abilities are being casted on it. So it's getting hit with the blinding light from the priest, which is reducing its chance to hit, and it's getting hit with a fair lot of those. So it's reducing its chance to hit immensely, which will make it so the dragon's probably not even really hitting any of the characters. It's missing probably over 90, maybe even 100% of the time. We're also noticing a lot of chimera shots being casted onto the dragon, which is increasing the chance it will receive a critical strike. And let me just see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is already a 100% chance guaranteed for every single ability to land a critical strike on the dragon. Okay, so let's move on now to just any of these characters. Let's look at the hunter, and he has a lot of time warp and horn of winter. So time warp is increasing his attack speed by 20% and his movement speed by 30. The movement speed's probably not doing much, but that attack speed is making it so he's going to be casting, let's see, 20, 40, 60. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. 80. 120% faster, and every one of these horns of winters is increasing his attack power by 25%. And the time warp is a buff that applies to all teammates casted from the mage, and the horn of winter is a team buff that's applied to every team member from the Death Knight here. So all the team members are getting these insane attack speed and attack power buffs, combined with the dragon having a guaranteed chance to crit on it, and the dragon not being able to do any damage because it's missing every single shot. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Now, if I was a game designer, this is probably the point where I would say, okay, some of these abilities are overpowered and we need to rebalance them. But since, this is a project based around can the AI learn to kill the dragon really fast, well, they have found the absolute optimal way to do that, I think. And they are doing it very, very well. So this is a good accomplishment here, and I am very happy with how this has turned out. Alright, so I changed a couple of the game mechanics and started a new training session. Firstly, I made it so that the same ability cannot stack its status effects more than once on a single target. So they won't be able to just stack tons of time warps and horns of winter like they did in the last training session. This makes it more similar to most RPG games. I also reduced the max mana on all the characters from 1000 to 500, except for the mage, whose max mana went from 1000 to 750. If we look at Tensorboard, we can see that they still learn to kill the dragon very consistently, but they haven't found a way to kill him any faster. At least, not yet. I'm glad to see that even with some of the more overpowered mechanics removed from the game, they're still able to learn how to defeat the boss. Instead of using cheesy exploits, they're now using a much wider range of all their abilities, and utilizing strategies such as using a tank to hold the dragon's attention and take all its damage, and applying all the weakening debuffs they have available to them on the dragon to reduce the damage it deals. I'm very happy of how this project turned out, so as I wrap up this video, I want to give a couple shoutouts to some people who helped make this project possible. Number 1, Sebastian Leg for providing the RPG character model we see the AIs using. Number 2, Dungeon Mason on the Unity Asset Store for the free dragon model and animations. Number 3, Code Monkey for the great tutorial on getting started with Unity ML agents. And finally, all the animators on Mixamo who provided the animations the characters are using. I may end up posting more videos of this AI. If I do, I'll post a link to that video in the video description here. If you like this video, you can press that like button. And finally, thanks for watching.